My sister took a pair of scissors and shredded my wedding dress. My parents defended her until her own friends inadvertently exposed the devastating truth she had desperately tried to conceal for months. 3 weeks before my wedding day, I turned the key to my childhood bedroom closet, and my heart stopped. My gown, the one with the exquisite lace sleeves and the intricate embroidery I had scrimped and saved for months to afford, had been reduced to ribbons. It had been violently hacked apart with shears. My family tried to convince me I was being overly dramatic, that accidents could happen. But moths don't leave clean, straight cuts, and in the deepest part of my soul, I already knew who was responsible. I'm Emily. I'm 26 years old, and I have to share this story because I am still reeling from what my family has put me through. My younger sister, Chloe, who is 24, systematically destroyed my wedding dress just 3 weeks before I was set to walk down the aisle. And now, everyone is telling me I should just move on. I've always been the responsible one, the stable one, while Chloe has been the shimmering center of our family's universe since we were children. My parents, David, 53, and Susan, 50, have perpetually crafted excuses for her behavior. Growing up, whenever something went wrong, they would masterfully twist the situation to either blame me or paint me as the one who was overreacting. When I was 13 and Chloe was 11, she demolished a detailed sculpture I had been crafting for weeks. It was for a major school competition, and I had poured countless hours into it every single afternoon. She came tearing through the house and knocked it off its stand, causing it to shatter into 100 pieces. Instead of compelling her to apologize or face any consequence, my mother simply told me that these things happen and that I should have been more careful about where I stored it. Chloe never uttered a single word of apology. When I was 15, Chloe snuck into my room and stole the cash I had earned from babysitting for neighbors. She used the money to buy trendy makeup and clothes. When I discovered what she'd done and confronted her, she ran crying to our parents. They then insisted that I split my remaining money with her because she felt left out and didn't have as much as I did. They implied I was being selfish by not wanting to share with my younger sister. This pattern of behavior was a constant theme throughout our high school years. Chloe would do something undeniably wrong. I would attempt to hold her accountable, and our parents would somehow flip the narrative to make me the bad guy. They'd say I was being too harsh on her, or that I needed to show more compassion because she was the younger one. My father, David, rarely intervened in these disputes. He would just sit silently while my mother passionately defended Chloe and reprimanded me. The day I turned 18, I moved away for college and made a point to only return home for major holidays. I threw myself into my studies, working a part-time job to support myself. I graduated with a degree in accounting and secured a position at a respectable firm. It was at work 2 years ago that I met my fiancé, Liam, who is 30. He is kind, supportive, and respects me in a way I had never experienced within my own family. Liam proposed last year, and we joyfully set our wedding date for this October. I was ecstatic to finally have something so positive to look forward to. I discovered a breathtaking vintage gown in a small boutique downtown. It was expensive, but I had diligently saved for months to purchase it. The dress featured delicate lace sleeves and the most intricate beadwork. It was perfect, and I felt like a princess the moment I tried it on. I decided to store the dress in my old bedroom at my parents' house, as their closet was larger and better climate-controlled than my small apartment. This turned out to be a catastrophic mistake. I should have kept it crammed in my own closet, regardless of the space. About 3 months ago, Chloe started dating a new guy named Alex, who is 27. She became completely infatuated with him, constantly talking about marriage even though they had only been together for a short while. She dropped hints constantly about wanting to get engaged soon. Alex seemed like a decent guy, but he clearly wasn't ready for that level of commitment. 2 months ago, Alex and Chloe broke up. She was devastated, crying for weeks and incessantly calling him. She moved back into our parents' house during this time, and they coddled her like a small child. They brought her meals in bed and let her miss a week of work. They treated it as if she'd suffered a profound tragedy, not a standard breakup. While all this was happening, I was busy with wedding planning and my job. I visited my parents' house several times to manage wedding details and to check on my dress. Everything appeared to be fine, and Chloe even seemed to be recovering. 3 weeks ago, I went back home to retrieve my dress for the final fitting. I walked into my old bedroom and swung open the closet door. What I saw made the air catch in my throat. My dress was hanging there, but it was a ghost of what it had been. Someone had taken scissors and sliced through the bodice multiple times. The lace sleeves were completely severed from the body. The beading had been ripped off in large patches. It looked as if someone had attacked it in a blind rage. I just stood there for a few minutes, staring at the carnage, unable to move. Then I went downstairs and found Chloe in the kitchen. I asked her what happened to my dress. She looked at me with a blank expression and claimed she knew nothing about it. My parents walked into the kitchen, and I showed them the destruction. My father looked genuinely shocked, but my mother immediately started spinning excuses. She suggested that moths might have gotten into the closet or that some kind of freak accident had occurred. I told her that moths don't make clean cuts like those made with scissors. The damage was clearly deliberate. Chloe then burst into tears, swearing she would never do something so horrible. She accused me of blaming her without any evidence, saying it was unfair. My mother wrapped an arm around Chloe and told me I was being cruel to accuse my sister when she was already going through such a difficult time. I left the house and drove straight to the boutique where I had bought the dress. The owner looked at the photos I took and confirmed my fears. The damage was undeniably from scissors. She said there was no possibility of repairing it, and even if they could, the cost would be more than buying a new gown. She didn't have another dress like mine in stock, and with only 3 weeks until the wedding, ordering something new was out of the question. I spent the next 2 days frantically calling every bridal shop in the city, desperately searching for a replacement. Nothing even came close to the one I had lost. I finally found a simple gown at a department store that would have to do, but it was a pale shadow of what I had dreamed of. When I told my parents about my predicament, my mother said I was being too dramatic. She insisted the new dress would be perfectly fine and that I should focus on what's truly important, like my marriage to Liam. She said it was wrong to hold grudges against family and that I needed to forgive Chloe. My father called me privately and admitted he believed my version of events, but he didn't want to escalate the conflict within the family. He said Chloe was in a fragile state, and perhaps I could just be the bigger person and let it go. I asked them directly if they thought Chloe had destroyed my dress. My mother said she didn't know for certain, but that even if Chloe did do it, she wasn't in her right mind because of the breakup. She told me I should have compassion for my sister instead of being angry. My older cousin, Jessica, who is 32, called me when she heard what had happened. She told me that Chloe had been complaining on her private social media about how unfair it was that I was getting my dream wedding while her relationship had just ended. Jessica said Chloe had been making bitter comments about how some people get everything they want while others get nothing. I decided I had to confront Chloe one last time. I went to my parents' house and found her there alone. I told her that I knew she had cut up my dress and that I just wanted her to admit it. She looked at me with cold eyes and denied it again. She accused me of trying to ruin her life and paint her as a villain. She said everyone was already treating her poorly because of Alex, and now I was trying to turn the rest of the family against her. When my parents got home, Chloe ran to them, crying hysterically. She told them I had cornered her and was accusing her of awful things. My mother was furious with me. She said I was harassing Chloe and creating unnecessary drama right before my wedding. That was 2 weeks ago. My family has barely spoken to me since. They are acting as if I am the problem for not just dropping it. Chloe has never apologized or shown any remorse. She continues to deny any wrongdoing. My wedding is next week, and I will be wearing a dress that cost a fraction of my original one. Every time I look at it, it's a painful reminder of what Chloe stole from me. This was supposed to be one of the happiest times of my life, but now I spend my days trying to push away thoughts of my ruined gown. Liam has been incredibly supportive, but he also thinks I should focus on our future together and not dwell on what happened. He says the dress isn't as important as our marriage. I know he is right, but I can't shake the feeling of betrayal from my sister deliberately sabotaging something so meaningful to me. My parents have called a few times to ask if I'm ready to move past this. They want me to include Chloe in the wedding party as we had originally planned. They say that family is more important than a dress and that I will regret excluding her. I still haven't decided what to do about Chloe's attendance. Part of me wants to uninvite her completely, but I know that would cause an even bigger family meltdown. The other part of me just wants to pretend nothing happened so I can have a peaceful wedding day. I know this might seem minor compared to other family problems, but I can't get over how intentional it was. Chloe knew how much that dress meant to me, and she destroyed it anyway. Then she lied about it, and my parents enabled her, blaming me for being upset. Is it wrong that I don't want to forgive her? Should I just let it go and have her at my wedding as if nothing happened? I honestly don't know what the right thing to do is anymore. Update 1. I wanted to give everyone an update on what happened with my wedding and the situation with my sister. Thank you to everyone who commented on my initial post. Reading your responses was incredibly validating and helped me realize I wasn't overreacting to what Chloe did. My wedding was last Saturday, and despite everything, it was a beautiful day. Liam and I had a wonderful time, and I did my best to focus on celebrating our marriage instead of dwelling on the dress issue. The replacement dress I wore looked nice, and most of the guests were unaware of the drama that had preceded it. I did allow Chloe to attend the wedding, but I removed her from the wedding party. My parents were unhappy about this decision, but with the wedding so close, they didn't push the issue too hard. Chloe came and acted perfectly normal throughout the ceremony and reception. She even congratulated Liam and me and seemed genuinely happy for us. For a few days after the wedding, I started to hope that maybe we could move past what had happened. Perhaps my parents were right, and I should prioritize family peace over my lingering resentment about the dress. Then, something happened that changed everything. 3 days after the wedding, I was at my parents' house to pick up some wedding gifts that had been sent there. Chloe wasn't home, and my parents were out running errands. I went up to my old room to gather a few things I'd left behind. While I was packing, I accidentally knocked over a storage box under my bed. A bunch of old papers and photos scattered across the floor. As I was picking them up, I saw something that made my stomach plummet. They were printed screenshots of social media posts. Not just any posts, but posts from a private group that Chloe and some of her friends were part of. The posts were dated from about a month before my wedding, right around the time my dress was destroyed. In these posts, Chloe was venting about my wedding. She wrote about how unfair it was that I was getting this perfect wedding right after her relationship with Alex had ended. She wrote things like, "Emily always gets everything she wants while I get nothing." She talked about how our parents always praised me for being responsible and successful, while she felt like she was seen as the failure. But the most damning part was what she wrote about my dress. She said she saw it hanging in the closet, and that looking at it made her feel sick. She wrote that it represented everything that was wrong with our family dynamic. She said that I didn't deserve to have something so beautiful while her own life was falling apart. One of her friends had replied, asking what she was going to do about it. Chloe's response was, "I'm tired of being the nice sister who never stands up for herself." It's time Emily felt some disappointment for a change. The screenshots were from 2 days before my dress was ruined. I sat there on my bedroom floor, staring at these printouts for what felt like an eternity. This was the proof. This was confirmation that Chloe had planned to destroy my dress. It wasn't something she did in a moment of emotional crisis, as my parents had suggested. She had thought about it, stewed on it, and done it deliberately. I took photos of all the screenshots with my phone and then carefully put the papers back in the box. I didn't want Chloe to know I'd found them yet. I needed time to process this and decide on my next move. When I got home, I showed the photos to Liam. He was appalled and said we should show my parents immediately. I wasn't sure what that would accomplish. They had already made it clear they would believe Chloe over me, even with no evidence on her side. I decided to wait, hoping that now that the wedding was over and the pressure was off, Chloe might feel guilty and confess on her own. 2 days later, my mother called to ask how married life was going. During the call, she brought up the dress situation again. She said she was glad I hadn't let it ruin my wedding, and that she hoped I could find it in my heart to forgive Chloe soon. She said holding on to anger was unhealthy, and that family was more important than material things. I asked her directly if she had ever considered the possibility that Chloe was lying about not ruining the dress. My mother paused for a moment before saying she just couldn't imagine Chloe doing something so vindictive. She said that even if Chloe had done it, she was probably not thinking clearly because of her breakup. That conversation solidified it for me. My parents would continue to make excuses for Chloe, no matter what proof I presented. They had decided that keeping the peace with Chloe was more important than acknowledging the truth of what she did to me. I called my cousin Jessica and told her about the screenshots I found. She wasn't surprised at all, saying she had known from the beginning that Chloe was responsible for the dress. Jessica told me she had noticed Chloe making passive-aggressive comments about my wedding plans for months before the incident. Jessica also told me something I hadn't known. Apparently, Chloe had been telling people that I was being a bridezilla about my wedding and making unreasonable demands on the family. She had been painting herself as the victim of my supposed bad behavior. This made me realize that Chloe's campaign to undermine me had been going on for months, not just when she ruined the dress. She had been carefully constructing a narrative to make people feel sorry for her and critical of me. Yesterday, I decided to confront my family with the evidence. I called my parents and asked to meet with them and Chloe together. I told them I had something important to discuss regarding the wedding dress. We met at my parents' house yesterday afternoon. I brought printed copies of the screenshots and laid them out on the kitchen table. I explained how I found them and what they revealed about Chloe's intentions. When Chloe saw the printouts, her face went pale. She immediately claimed the screenshots were fake or taken out of context. She accused me of trying to frame her and destroy her reputation. My parents looked uneasy as they read through the posts. My father seemed genuinely shocked and disappointed. My mother just kept shaking her head, saying she couldn't believe Chloe would write such things. But even with the evidence right in front of her, my mother tried to downplay what Chloe had done. She said the posts just proved that Chloe was in a bad mental state and wasn't thinking rationally. She argued that while ruining the dress was wrong, it was an act of pain, not malice. Chloe started crying and said she was sorry for writing the posts, but that she still didn't actually ruin my dress. She claimed she was just venting her frustrations online, and that someone else must have been the one to cut up the dress. I pointed out that the timing of her posts lined up perfectly with when my dress was destroyed. I said it was too much of a coincidence that she would write about wanting me to feel disappointment, and then my dress was suddenly ruined. My father finally spoke up, saying that he thought Chloe needed to take responsibility for what she had done. He said the evidence was clear, and that continuing to deny, it was only making things worse. This sent Chloe into another round of tears, and my mother became defensive. She accused us of ganging up on Chloe and being unfair. She said that even if Chloe did ruin the dress, I should forgive her because she's family. The conversation went in circles for over an hour. Chloe refused to admit to what she did, and my mother continued to make excuses for her. My father seemed torn between wanting justice for me and wanting to keep the peace. Finally, I told them that I couldn't continue to have a relationship with Chloe if she was going to keep lying about what she did. I also said that I couldn't respect my parents' decision to prioritize Chloe's comfort over holding her accountable for her actions. I left their house and haven't spoken to any of them since. Liam supports my decision, but he's worried that I'm going to lose my entire family over this. I'm not sure what will happen next. A part of me hopes that seeing the evidence will make my parents realize how wrong they've been about Chloe, but I'm not holding my breath. Update 2. I've received a lot of messages asking for another update, so I wanted to let everyone know what's happened since my last post. After I presented my family with the screenshots proving Chloe destroyed my wedding dress, I didn't hear from them for about 2 weeks. I assumed they needed time to process what they had learned and figure out how to move forward. Then, I got a call from my father. He said he had done a lot of thinking and that he believed me about what Chloe had done. He was disappointed in her for lying and in my mother for continuing to make excuses. My father told me he had tried to talk to my mother and Chloe about the situation several times since our meeting. My mother's position remained that even if Chloe did ruin the dress, I needed to be the bigger person and forgive her. Chloe continued to deny everything. He said he was tired of the dishonesty and wanted to find a way to make things right with me. He asked if I would be willing to meet with him alone, without my mother and Chloe present. I agreed to meet him for coffee last week. When I saw him, he looked tired and older than I remembered. He apologized for not standing up for me more over the years. He admitted that he always knew my mother favored Chloe, but he had avoided confronting her about it because he didn't want to cause conflict. He told me that seeing the screenshots made him realize just how much damage had been done by constantly prioritizing Chloe's feelings. He said he was proud of me for building a life and a marriage for myself with so little support from them. My father also revealed something I had never known. Apparently, Chloe had a history of this kind of behavior. When we were teenagers, she had deliberately broken other things that belonged to me, but my parents never told me they knew she was the one responsible. He told me that when I was 17, Chloe had wiped my entire phone of all my photos because she was mad at me about something trivial. They found out she had done it, but decided not to tell me because they thought it would create too much drama in the family. Learning this made me realize that my parents had been actively covering up Chloe's behavior for years. They had allowed me to think I was going crazy or overreacting, when they knew all along that she was intentionally targeting me. My father said he regretted not being honest with me sooner. He said he wanted to have a relationship with me that was separate from the dynamic with my mother and Chloe. He asked if we could start meeting more regularly to try and rebuild our bond. I told him I appreciated his apology, but that I needed time to think about what kind of relationship we could have moving forward. I told him how much it hurt that he had let me believe I was wrong about Chloe for so long when he knew the truth. A few days later, something else unexpected happened. My Aunt Carol, my mother's sister, called me. She said she had heard about the wedding dress situation from other family members and wanted me to know that she was on my side. Aunt Carol told me she had always seen the different ways my parents treated me and Chloe. She said she had wanted to say something over the years but didn't feel it was her place to interfere in my parents' choices. She said that when she heard about the dress being destroyed and my parents' reaction, she knew she couldn't stay silent any longer. She had called my mother and told her she was wrong to keep making excuses for Chloe's behavior. According to Aunt Carol, my mother became very defensive during their conversation. My mother told her that I was being overly emotional about a dress and that family loyalty should come before material possessions. She told my aunt that she wouldn't understand the situation because she doesn't have children of her own. Aunt Carol said she told my mother that destroying someone's wedding dress is a serious betrayal, and lying about it makes it even worse. She said my mother ended up hanging up on her, and they haven't spoken since. Aunt Carol also told me that other family members have started talking about the situation. Apparently, word of the screenshots had gotten out, and many of our relatives were questioning my parents' handling of the situation. Some of them felt that Chloe needed to face the consequences of her actions. This news made me feel validated, but also sad that it took something so extreme for people to finally see the long-standing dynamic in our family. Last week, I received a text message from Chloe. It was the first time she had reached out to me directly since our confrontation at my parents' house. The message was long and rambling, but the gist of it was that she was sorry for everything that had happened. She said she had been in a dark place after her breakup with Alex and had made some bad decisions. She said she never meant to hurt me and that she regretted letting things get so out of hand. She asked if we could meet up to talk about repairing our relationship. The message never once included an actual admission that she had destroyed my dress. She kept using vague language like bad decisions and mistakes without ever taking ownership of what she did. I showed the message to Liam, and he pointed out that Chloe was still not taking full responsibility. He said it sounded like she was trying to get back in my good graces without actually confessing to the truth. I decided not to reply to Chloe's message. I didn't see the point in meeting with her if she wasn't going to be honest about what happened. 2 days ago, my mother called me. She said she missed me and wanted to fix things. She asked me to come over for dinner so we could all talk as a family. I told her I wasn't ready to sit down with everyone and pretend like nothing had happened. I said that until Chloe admitted what she did, and until she stopped making excuses for her, I didn't see how we could move forward. My mother said I was being difficult and unreasonable. She told me that Chloe had sent me an apology and that I should just accept it and move on. She said holding grudges was unhealthy and that I was hurting the whole family by staying angry. I reminded her that Chloe's message was not an apology because she still hadn't admitted to what she had done. I said I couldn't have a relationship with someone who was actively lying to me about something so significant. My mother ended the conversation by saying that I was choosing to tear our family apart over a dress. She said she hoped I would come to my senses before it was too late to repair the damage I was causing. After I hung up the phone, I felt so drained. It seems like no matter how much evidence I provide or how calmly I try to explain my position, my mother will always find a way to make me the villain. Liam and I have been talking a lot about what to do. He thinks I should maintain my distance from my family until they are ready to acknowledge the truth. He says I've done everything I can to be fair and reasonable, but they aren't willing to meet me halfway. I'm starting to think he's right. I can't keep having the same circular conversations with people who refuse to see reality. The constant stress of dealing with this drama is taking a toll on my mental health and on my new marriage. I haven't made any final decisions yet, but I'm leaning toward taking a long break from communicating with my mother and Chloe. My father and I still talk, and maybe that relationship is salvageable, but I'm not so sure about the rest of my family. Update 3. I wanted to provide one last update to let everyone know how this situation has finally resolved. After my last post, I made the decision to go no contact with my mother and Chloe. I was exhausted from having the same conversations over and over with no progress. I continued to speak with my father occasionally, but I stopped responding to texts and calls from anyone else in my immediate family. For about a month, things were quiet. Liam and I focused on settling into married life, and I started to feel the constant knot of anxiety in my stomach begin to loosen. I was beginning to think that cutting contact was the right decision for my well-being. Then, 3 weeks ago, something happened that turned everything on its head. My cousin Jessica called me with some news about Chloe. Apparently, Chloe had started dating a new guy named Mark, who is 26. Even though they had only been together for a few weeks, Chloe was already talking about marriage and their future together. Jessica said that Chloe had been posting nonstop on social media about how happy she was and how Mark was the perfect man for her. She was acting as if her relationship with Mark proved that she was over the drama with Alex and our family. But then, Mark found out what Chloe had done to my wedding dress. Jessica heard from other family members that Mark had met some of Chloe's friends at a party. These were the same friends who were in the private social media group where Chloe had talked about wanting to ruin my wedding. One of these friends brought up the wedding dress incident to Mark, assuming he already knew about it. When Mark asked Chloe about it later, she gave him the same story she had told everyone else, that she had nothing to do with my dress being destroyed. But Mark was curious about the situation and started asking more questions. Eventually, someone showed him the screenshots of Chloe's social media posts, proving that she had planned to sabotage my wedding. When Mark confronted Chloe with this evidence, she finally broke down and confessed everything she had done. She told him that she had cut up my dress because she was jealous of my happiness and wanted to make me feel disappointed for once. Mark was understandably horrified by what Chloe had done, and even more disturbed by the fact that she had been lying about it for months. He told her that he couldn't be with someone who would intentionally hurt a family member and then lie about it so convincingly. He broke up with Chloe the next day. Chloe was completely shattered by the breakup. According to my father, she cried for days and begged Mark to give her another chance. She promised she would apologize to me and make things right, but Mark told her that he couldn't trust her because she had lied to him about something so fundamental. The breakup seemed to be the wake-up call that Chloe desperately needed. For the first time, her actions had a consequence that she couldn't escape by having my parents make excuses for her. My father called to tell me what had happened. He said that Chloe had finally confessed to him and my mother that she was the one who destroyed my dress. She had admitted to everything, including how she had planned it in advance and then lied about it for months. According to my father, my mother was stunned by Chloe's confession. She had been so convinced of Chloe's innocence that hearing the truth from Chloe herself was hard for her to process. My father told me that Chloe wanted to call me to apologize for what she had done. He asked if I would be willing to hear her out. I told him I needed some time to think about it. Part of me felt relieved that the truth was finally out, but another part of me was angry that it took Chloe losing a boyfriend to finally be honest. 2 days later, Chloe called me. She was crying so hard she could barely speak. She apologized for destroying my dress and for lying about it. She said she was jealous and angry, and she took it out on me in the worst possible way. She said she knew that saying sorry couldn't change what she did, but she wanted me to know that she was truly remorseful. She said that losing Mark made her realize the impact of her actions on other people, and she wanted to change and be a better person. I listened to what Chloe had to say, but I didn't offer her forgiveness or absolution. I told her that I appreciated her finally telling the truth, but that it didn't erase the months of lies and manipulation. I told her that I needed time to process this and to decide what kind of relationship, if any, we could have in the future. Chloe asked if there was anything she could do to make it up to me. I told her that the time for making things right had long passed. She had been given so many opportunities to be honest, and she chose to lie every single time. After that call, my mother called me. She apologized for not believing me about what Chloe had done. She said she was wrong to make excuses for Chloe's behavior, and that she regretted putting me in the position of having to prove I was telling the truth. My mother said she understood if I needed time and space from the family. She said she hoped that we could eventually repair our relationship, but that she would respect whatever decision I made. I appreciated my mother's apology, but I wasn't ready to just go back to the way things were. Too much damage had been done, and too much trust had been broken. Liam and I have talked a lot about what to do next. He thinks that now that the truth is out and apologies have been made, I should consider giving my family another chance. He says that holding onto my anger will only hurt me in the long run. I understand his point, but I'm not ready to just welcome everyone back into my life with open arms. The fact that it took Chloe losing a boyfriend to tell the truth tells me she was more sorry about the consequences for herself than for the pain she caused me. For now, I've decided to maintain a low level of contact with my family. I'll respond to important messages and attend major family gatherings when necessary, but I'm not going back to weekly family dinners and daily phone calls. My father and I are slowly rebuilding our relationship, and I'm optimistic that it will continue to improve over time. As for my mother and Chloe, I'm not sure what the future holds. Some people might think I'm being too harsh by not immediately forgiving my family now that they've apologized, but I have to protect my own mental health and my marriage. I can't go back to being the person in the family who just absorbs everyone else's bad behavior and pretends like everything is okay. Liam and I are doing great, and we're focused on building our own life together. We're talking about buying a house and starting a family in the next couple of years. I want to put my energy into those positive things, not into trying to fix relationships that might be beyond repair. I'm not saying I'll never have a close relationship with my family again, but if we do, it will look very different from how it was before. They will have to earn my trust back through their actions, not just their words. For now, I am content with the distance I have created. It has brought me peace and allowed me to focus on what's truly important in my life.